Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, you can do that. Well, thank you for being here, and welcome to UMEP. Sorry we have some technical difficulties with the presentation. I'm Sawzar Dishack, and I'm the creative director of TRT and I'm very delighted to be here, and we're going to talk about very important information today, or cover a very important topic, rather. And I hope you walk out with some good information. Unfortunately, again, I have a lot of slides out there, a lot of videos to demonstrate, and it looks like it's not going to work out very well, but let's try to do as best as we can here. Our topic actually today is about rebranding, or channel branding in the first place, but then we can move on to rebranding. In the first place, I would like to ask, anyone here knows or aware of this topic? Branding, channel branding. Okay. Okay, let's first, the topic here says TRT rebranding, but let's take a step back and think and talk about branding. What is branding, or channel branding? This is really important for all of us to know, for everyone that works in a TV channel. The question is, why do, if not a TV channel, let's talk about channels, or sorry, brands in general. Why do they spend so much money, massive amount of money, on branding? Case in point, Apple, Coca-Cola, Turkish Airlines, you call it, any brand. They spend so much money on their identity or branding. Well, the reason being is that this money is really spent to make their target audience really understand who they are. What do they stand for? The look and feel of the brand. Likewise with the TV channel here, it's a brand. You know, no matter how you look at it, what is a TV channel? A TV channel communicates. And how does it communicate to target audience, or to our audiences? Primarily by, they listen to you and they look at you, correct or wrong. So if your content, I know everyone is very heavy in the TV channel, content, programs, content, but what if your content is really strong but you're visually poor? How would people perceive you? Sort of like, it's like you're going to an occasion, you talk to someone, you're very knowledgeable, but your look is bad. So basically, branding is, for a channel, is very important because it kind of puts a nice dress. It tells who you are. It tells how you feel about things. Whether with regards with color, with animation, with everything else. So this is branding for a channel. It's very essential. Now if we talk about rebranding here, rebranding is basically taking a channel from its current state to something else. And why do we do it? The reason we do it is because our target audiences have changed. We have demographics. We deal with kids, we deal with adults, and we deal with older people, and everyone's perception is not on the same level. So as your brand is developing, then you should actually look back and say, I had this image from the 70s. Or 80s, or 90s. How am I going to make it work for 2017? So you put a 5 years or 4-year strategy, for example, and you work on working for the future for 2005 and say, this is how I'm going to look for the next 5 years. Otherwise, you're going to lose your target audience. So this is basically what it is from branding on a nutshell. Unfortunately, I have 1 hour only. And it's very unfair to put all this massive amount of information in 1 hour, but I'll try to simplify it as much as I can. So this is why we do it. This is the current TRT look. I don't want to say it's good or bad, but I'm going to leave it to the audiences to judge. I mean, like I said, the people who are working within the channel, they're brilliant. Everyone is preparing really good content, and they're working actually on enhancing the content. But again, if it's visually weak, then it's not going to communicate as effectively as it should. Again, here, this is what we have. This is the current state right now. Now, how do we do our channel? I'm just going to go a little bit on the technical side of it, in case you don't know. Basically, the way we do, how we brand it, is we start off with a brief. It is really important when you want to do a rebranding or a branding, when you launch a new channel, is to understand yourself. You need to know a lot about yourself, so you know how you're going to look in the future. How are you going to attract people? How are you going to talk to people? And, of course, visually, let alone. So you set a really airtight, very solid strategy first. Then, of course, part of that brief, again, you talk about your objectives. You really have to be honest with yourself as a channel, especially when you want to rebrand yourself. You have to be honest. You cannot lie to yourself and say, yeah, I look good, everything's fine. We just want to make minor tweaks. Well, this is not the case. Because if you're not really objective with yourself and go down to the very bottom of your problems, you're not going to be able to solve them. So it's pointless to actually go forward and do rebranding. You have to set your pillars. Your pillars are your solid foundation again. In case in point, in TRT we're communicating to the Middle East, and just part of the strategy, again, I'm trying to take you through a realistic example. I'm not just talking theories, this is a realistic, and you guys are very lucky that I'm not just going to talk about theory, I'm going to bring you examples of how we actually did it. So from the top management to high executives, we say, all right, now that we're rebranding a channel, what are the pillars? What are we going to talk about? Now this is going to it will dramatically affect the visuals. It's not just the content, the visuals, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we go on with the presentation. So we're saying we need hope, unity, and inspired change for the Middle East. As we all know, the Middle East is not the happiest place right now. And if you're just going to give them more news and news and news and sad news, you know what, they're not going to tune into you. Or if they do, it's not the right way to communicate to such audiences. So in our case, we decided to come up with a channel as an infotainment channel. And for many of you, if you know what it is, you know, if you don't, it's informative and entertainment content. So on one side, we're going to give the news bulletins, talk about these current affairs. On the other side, we're giving drama, game shows, something that puts people a little bit off, off the channel, the news path or channel. So there you go. Once you've done that, you put your pillars on. You want to talk about your single-minded message. What is a single-minded message? Again, we talk about together we can bridge, our worlds. We can work together. We can, work towards a promising future. Now, those are the key words I'm just telling you as it helps again with regards to the visual identity that you will create in the future. Again, you have to talk about your target audiences. Who do we target? Which ages? In our case, we were thinking between 80 to 60, but that's, 18 to 60, or that's a long range. But actually, the fact of the matter is B to C educated people. So we're talking about the higher range are thought to be more of the young educated people. Then again, you have to talk about what is the problem with your brand. Again, we addressed that. If it's visually poor, the channel already doesn't look together. in terms of visual, again, the presenters, the backgrounds, the video walls, the studio, everything looks like from the 60s. And we're in 2017, so this is a huge problem, and we have to come across to solve it. Then you come to something called brief insight. I mean, I know you guys, you can't read it, but I'm trying to put it to you in the best way form. Brief insight is, you're talking about the problem in general in the Middle East. So you address it. Like I said before, people are not happy. They're looking for hope. They're looking for change. They're looking for someone to support them, find investors, opportunities. I'm not talking about the people who lost, you know, their hopes in war and whatnot. But a lot of people, due to political unrest or their leaders' behavior in each country, you know, they kind of like seek different opportunities. And Turkey, in this matter, is really opening their doors and say, hey, you know, if you've lost hope, you can come out here and work. If you want to do investment, co-production, whatever it is, on many aspects, we can do it together. Okay, again, there's the brand voice, how we're talking, we're being sincere, emotional, we want to play in harmony, unity, equality. I mean, those are really big words, key words that will help, again, branding a channel. Of course, how do you want people to feel about you once you've done the solution? So on and on. I mean, there are a lot of things that you have to go through, and it's a workshop on itself to write a brief, a creative brief, or a strategy for a channel. But this is where you start from. Again, last but not least, you have to see like your competitors. Who am I competing with, after all? It is important because you don't want to do something less than your competitors, and hopefully you can push it actually a notch more and make it more successful than the other brands. Now, process of choosing the rebranding company. There are hundreds of rebranding companies out there, and really good rebranding companies. Like I said, once you've established your brief, you know what you are, who you are, the second step is going to find an agency. Now, there are a lot of them out there, like I said, and they provide like 360 solutions, a lot of solutions for rebranding your channel. In which case, you have to look at their budgets. Some of them cost a lot, or they charge you millions of, not millions, hundreds of thousands, some of them less. So we had to go through hundreds. I personally had to go through tons of agencies and trying to see, again, you always have to go back from the brief. What am I trying to say as to how is it going to translate visually? And each company can provide you with different approach, you know, towards solving your problem. So, in process-wise, you know, you have to choose 3 of them. Ideally, you give them a brief, you let them debrief it, and come back to you within 3 months, 2 months, depends, you know, how long you need. When you're going to launch your channel. And within that time, they have to prepare a pitch presentation. Now, normally, just for you to know, these agencies don't like to pitch anymore because it's visual effects, computer graphics. It takes so much time and energy to prepare a full presentation. So a lot of times the channel itself pays for the pitch so they can bring certain people and put it together. So again, you send it out and they come back to you after 3 months. You get to see their first approach. So some of them will show you, well, all of them must actually show you how they want to solve your problem. And of course, it's negotiable. You talk, they get back to you, they give you visuals. This is how we think you are. These are the shapes that you're going to be working with, so on and so forth. Then, of course, you get shortlisted companies, and then, of course, you have to land on one company, make a contract, then you start to work. In our case, we worked with a company called Lumbre. Now, there's something really important and something really challenging about Lumbre and the way we approach Lumbre as TRT, from the executives down to me, down to everyone else. When we have chosen Lumbre, Lumbre has never done anything for the Middle East. Imagine, out of all the companies I've seen, a lot of them have done a lot for Jazeera, ABC, you call it, I mean, all TV channels. But then we decided to land on Lumbre. Lumbre is a company that does rebranding, but they're based in Argentina, Buenos Aires. They don't understand the culture. They have never seen the Middle East before. That's how native, that's how fresh they are. And we said, you know what? It is a risk, but beyond that risk, there's something I was seeking, something I was looking for. This is primarily making a change. Making a change could be risky, and especially from a strategic and creative standpoint. You're bringing people to do a channel rebranding, and they don't understand anything about you. They don't know your food, they don't know your country, they don't know your culture, nothing. Except that their work, I was very happy with their work, and I knew their work, one way or another, is going to translate and do something very different. But it was risky, and again, we have to take risks for success. We cannot just go and say, this is the obvious way. Let's go with a company that have done work for other people, give them a brief, everything's nice and beautiful. Well, that's not the case. And we're actually, I was very worried now that we're 90% for its finishing, but I was really happy that we've gone that route, we've gone that path. Otherwise, like I said, we would have had something very ordinary, which is not what we want. So anyway, we invited Lumbre over, and I just want to go in a little bit of that story. They brought the creatives, the producer, the account handler, and I took them all over Istanbul, from the highest places to the lowest places, mosques, down streets, everywhere. They tried everything. And it's like, you know, fresh baby. Everything they're tasting, they're seeing is like something completely new for them. And amazing. It's like they've seen things, if you walk by a baharat or spices place, they're like, whoa, spices. They don't have that. But it's like they're so fascinated with the colors, so fascinated with the layout, the way it's put. So they kept on registering. I mean, one week, I couldn't remember a day sleeping, not thinking about how am I going to fill the next 24 hours spending with them, and really try to brief them more and more. Now again, I really want to emphasize, and I cannot stress more, that briefing is the most important thing that you can do when you want to approach a project. If you're not solid, if you don't know yourself, don't get there. Spend more time understanding yourself. Spend more time realizing yourself. Then go to the people and tell them, this is who I am. Tell me what can I do. So with the first week approach, a company like Lumbre, I'm giving examples again, they came here, they understood everything, they went back, off they went, and they start with the main palette. Again, in branding, why is it important for the channel? Because when you tune in, you need people's life, span actually, has gone very short. People don't have the memory span like before. So whenever they're watching programs, like you gotta tell them, this is political program, this is entertainment, this is drama. And that's what branding is for a channel. It helps your audience to focus on the segment that you're doing. Otherwise, it's all gonna become like one flat line, and no one will get you, basically. So you start off with the main palette. Again, after you set off the colors that you think that work, and this is only the first week after they came back. This is the initial work, but I'm going to take you from the initial to the fully developed work. I mean, going into mosques and churches and streets and everything else, cultural places, we started to play around with shapes. So we're seeing what's in common between the Middle East and Turkey. There's a really historical background, Islamic historical background, but we're not an Islamic channel. We're not an Islamic religious channel, broadcasting religious material. But what really brings both cultures back together in the subliminal mind is the shared history. We talk about like the 12th century, 13th century, 14th century. You may say, you're a creative guy, why do you have to go and understand this relationship? Well, that relationship is what it is. So again, we needed to know what is in common so we can do something, for the future. So there off we went to a lot of mosques, a lot of places, and we figured that the geometric shapes are the common grounds and the common denominator between the two cultures. Therefore, but then we said, we don't want to make it too obvious, so we have to abstract, we have to take parts of that and kind of make it modern. Again, why is it modern? Because a lot of people in the Middle East, or in the Middle East area, the Arabic countries, they like Turkey as being the European kind of look, but with the cultural, with the Islamic cultural background. So it makes them feel very comfortable. It's like the Europe, the America for the Middle Easterns. And this is very important. You don't want to put something that doesn't appeal to them. You want to keep that modern Turkey on the screen, but again, go back to the backgrounds. So again, off we went. We start with patterns. Again, these are the most common patterns. Why am I in the middle of the screen here? All right. Then from these patterns, we start taking things out. Okay, so this in my own eyes looks like Islamic, but it's different. There are a lot of abstractions. We took a lot of elements out of it, and we started to build on shapes. Again, the stretching, the best of two worlds. Everything's about how can we both work together, connect together. Again, start playing with typography, shapes. By the way, they're very big on Game of Thrones, so everything that you see here is just on, playing on Game of Thrones. So again, as you see, there are shapes, starting to go with lines, on and on, something like that. Textures, shapes. I mean, this was taken from a mosque, believe it or not. This is pure Islamic art, and I'm very sorry that the quality of the screen here is so, it's projection, so you're not seeing the true colors, you're not seeing the true value of the work here. It's actually smushed, and again, technical issues, but we can get as close as possible. So if you see what I'm saying, where the brief started and where we're starting to go with the visual identity here. Again, this is the entertainment part. Now, going after 3 months of what you've seen so far, 3 months down the work, we started to finalize the shapes that we have. Can we, can we make a full screen? This is really killing it. Oh, God. Okay, go back. No, actually, yeah. Go back to where it was. This is too much stretched. All right. Okay, this is better. Okay, I can live with this. All right, again, I do have a lot of videos to show you, but then let's concentrate maybe on that one. This is a little bit too blurry. Again, when you build a toolkit, you have to know how many programs you have. Because we're an infotainment channel, we have like culture, art, travel, current affairs, too many programs. So for each program, you must have a color. And then, again, you have prime time, you have normal time and prime time, so you also have to separate the colors. You can't just go with one flat color and go all the way across. So here we go again, for different programs, openers, billboards, slates, you call them, there are too many elements out there. Then we go with the program openers. Again, this is something that I'll play it again. For example, for drama. It's a program opener. It's basically a 5-second clip that just plays and shows you that this is, you're playing drama. Again, the audio is still not developed, but this is another process that once you've developed the animations, you have to go with the audio guy, composer, and again explain the brief like you explained it to the branding agency, and they put an audio that is compatible with the visuals that you have. This is, for example, art and culture. Again, if you look at the background, you look at, this is art and culture, so this is a compass basically, but with an artistic kind of like feeling to it, and you see the patterns in the background. This is political. So moving on, this is the entertainment part. Again, it didn't give justice, but we're working with what we have. The news toolkit, now that you've created an entertainment identity, you don't want to create a news toolkit that looks different. You want to still make people look like they're watching the same channel. But you don't want to make it too fun and too entertaining. You have to give it that little bit of a seriousness to it. But again, if you, like you see, we still maintain the value of the visual identity from the first place, from the entertainment part, to make it work across with the news part. Here we go. These are all different ways. If you know the lower thirds, the Astons, there are many options. They provide you with as many options as you need, depending on which story, which coverage, which story you're covering, and what are the elements that you need. This is for normal news. Then you get the red one for breaking news, of course. Then you go with the blue one. With the green one for sports, with the yellow one for weather, on and on. So. Likewise with the infographics, infographics are charts that help you understand the story or what you're trying to say. Again, look at the shapes that we're providing here. They're still taken and derived from the main identity. We haven't gone far creating those. Maps, they help with maps. Weather. There's also the news, the video walls. Basically, when the presenter is sitting, then you have this huge, massive video wall. You want to cover a story about someone, you have pictures, images, so they also give you references of how you should, use your video walls. And again, from here, you got different templates, different ways of doing it. And again, you kind of see like the main two colors are the blue and the red. So those are the major color palettes that we're using. This is if you have, again, infographics, live infographics. Then comes the news openers. See, as you see here, do we have audio on this? Sorry. Look, do you have audio? Oh God. So that was the first, was the main news. This is the breaking news. As you see, then we move on. For example, this is the this is politics. Again, like you've seen before, I want to just take you back a little. Okay. see the color is different right now. We're going to red. And notice the ball in the middle. The ball in the middle kind of tells you what exactly you're saying. And the brief, like I said, the two worlds. You got the Arab world and you got the, the Turkish world, and both of them playing together, connecting together, kind of like brings you the world in the middle, which is the world that we're working on. For example, this one, you see, flags. So right there you can tell it's politics. Temperatures. That's for weather. Economy, we've seen it. And last but not least, sports. Now, I just want to stop here just a little bit. We're missing two things in this. You're saying it's an Arabic channel, but everything is in English, and you talked about everything except the logo. Well, the logo and the font are still in progress. The logo, we are thinking of changing the channel's name. So this is like an executive kind of like order. So we have to wait whether or not we're going to go ahead and change the name. So once we do that, then we go on to create the new logo, and we can apply it on our toolkit out here, the graphic toolkit. The font is still under construction, but it's a really Kufic font, basically, and it's very geometric. So that's still in the works. We haven't applied that. Like I said, this is still work in progress. Nothing is final yet. But everything will be, hopefully we'll look in the near future to we'll get to a final stage. Last, I don't want to say last, but here we're going to talk about idents. Idents are a different form of visual graphics, which basically they're a 15-second animation that talks a little bit step back, talks generally about the channel. So we are a news channel, we have drama, we have history, and we have, for example, game shows. So these are like little ones, and I'll show you. I think, do you have audio as well, please? So you start off with the storyboard. Sorry, I'm going to take you back. This is the storyboard that we start off with. And from this, you're going to see the final animation. So we draw a story. So, okay, if the whole idea, if two things are hitting together, what's the fusion of them? What's the outcome? If we really collide two beautiful cultures together, how is that going to happen? What's going to happen afterwards? So again, it is like from unity to infinity and infinity back to unity, which is a philosophy of the channel of the design. If you know anything about Islamic art, it's connected with Allah. Allah is infinite. This is a fact that we know. So in design, we don't have a beginning point and an end point for in Islamic design. You can never find this. So that's why, but everything else, it goes and travels in different geometric shapes and forms, but it leads you to the center. And the center is normally, again, this is from Islamic art, is the center of the universe, which is you, which is God in you. So there is that kind of philosophy from unity to infinity and infinity back to unity. So this is a news ident. Basically, light hitting and travels out to the city, sports, economy. Okay, and then the name is Astra, but this is not going to be it. Then we have for drama, again you see the storyboard here, then it hits, this is drama. Then we have history. And this is entertainment. Still in progress, by the way. So this is fabric, art, spices. So again, those are little segments, like a 15-second, just to tell you what the channel is all about. And normally they're played before the exact segment. So if we're playing drama, you kind of start off with that one. If you're playing news, you know, news time, you kind of play the news item. If you have historical programming, then you put the historical ones, and so on and so forth. Or the entertainment, the last one, you know, you kind of put these just a little bit before the program. Just again, to keep people focused on what you're doing. Mood films, we don't have them now, but mood films are a little commercial about your channel. So you want to basically create a 30-second or 1-minute video or promo to advertise your channel, to talk about who we are and why we are doing the news, why we're together. So again, it's like an advertisement for the channel. We are still writing the script, but then once you're done with the script, you take it to production and you make this huge production and of course put it on screen. But again, it tells more like, they're like the items, but they're like a 1 minute or 30 seconds. They talk more, advertise your channel. Studio design. Again, now we created everything nicely on the screen, but then we need to create a studio that actually looks like our identity. We cannot, again, do something disconnected or disengaged from our identity. Again, look at the shapes. This is the main, this is the news gallery. It changes, you can change the backgrounds and different colors depending on what time you're airing what. This is, on the other side, this is the magazine. So if you have any current affairs or morning shows or entertainment shows, this is where you do it. Again, I want to stress, again, this is derived from Islamic art from 1,000 years ago, but it looks like modern. I mean, this is the whole point of the strategy itself. Okay, of course, then you go on different sides of the studio. We have a top level as well. I'll show you the overall, this is the overall top view layout. So, as you see, on the right side is one, and it's really bad, I'm sorry about the visuals. But on the right side is one, the news. This is the gallery, and two sides here. It's basically a Swiss Army knife kind of studio. We have a lot of programming and we have one studio, so you really want to know and have the most capability to use your programming on each part and try to make it as simple as easy to use. And of course, in all these, you know, we bring normally like a DOP. Aside from myself as a creative director, we choose like the money shots, we call them, like the really important shots. So we have a second floor, we'll be shooting from the bottom, and we can take from a crane, it goes up to the second one, and right there you might have a special guest or special programming. You can use the top one. While you're using the top, you can be preparing the side, and the side can be like as a set, and you can do your rehearsals and your dress, set dressing on the side and back and forth. So it is like a revolving studio. And I want to thank you for your time. I want to allow you guys, if you have any questions, please feel free in any language. I think we have translators. If not, please ask any questions. It wasn't fair, and certainly the screen didn't help me. But if you have any questions, please ask. Can we email you this presentation? You're from? Albania. From Albania. Unfortunately, okay. Okay, he asked if he can have this presentation given to me. I am very sorry, I cannot do this at this stage. Why? Because this is still in progress. The work is still in progress. However, if that helps you, I can give you my business card, and we can talk on the side in case you need any help or any further information. Because this is not on screen yet, I mean, I'm kind of like giving you a sneak preview. And I talked about the channel branding, so I wanted to bring a live example, not just to talk about theories or that's how things are done. No, I wanted to bring a live example, but I can't yet share this out. But I can be any help for you if you need anything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Pomini from Namibia, Africa. I'm currently working on a reality TV concept, and in terms of creating the look and feel, the reality TV pertains to an individual, a specific person who is then going into work out with certain different individuals. My question is, when I get to the graphics that entails this individual, what type of elements should I focus on? Hence, your presentation here focused on the two different countries coming together as one, and that's where our colors would come from. If it's a reality TV show that entails a specific individual, what elements do I focus there? Their interests, or that's where
what elements you're talking about?
In terms of graphics, in terms of graphic look and feel.
Okay, I just have to separate. Thank you for your question first. We have to separate the graphic department or the visual department from the branding. Branding is more about the channel. What I showed you today is about the channel, but the visual department of which I can answer you because this is my job, this is what I do for a living. Normally when you create that, you have to see the program producer. The program producers basically, they create a strategy, again, likewise with the rebranding, they should have their planners. And the planners are the ones who will understand exactly what the program is all about. So in your case, if you're doing a reality TV show, you need to have your marketing or planning department to define the brief again. They should give the creative department a brief. Why are we doing this? Who are the people? What's their age? What do they dress? What do they eat? What do they drink? These are really important questions that your program producer is ought to do. Then that brief is given to the creative department, then they create visuals. Now normally you don't need to go with branding agencies although they can do program openers and they can do all that beautiful stuff. If you have budget, well, here you go. You can, hire these guys and they're all over the internet. You can reach them. But if you have a graphic department, if you have good motion designers, motion graphic designers, copywriters, they can certainly come up with it. But really, again, like I said, the planners will help you. Because I can't give you an answer right now. What do we focus? I don't know. I mean, reality TV for two different cultures. I would work about the differences and the common things. Those are, if you ask me, I can give you an answer quickly. Just capitalize on the differences and the common, and work with controversy. Find controversial topics. This controversial topics bring audiences in.
Hi, my name is Wahiga Mwaura from Nairobi, Kenya. I have 3 questions, some of which you may have touched on in your presentation, but I hope you don't mind me asking again.
Absolutely.
The first question is, how do you measure the success of a rebrand? What factors do you use to look at and say, at the end of the day, I'm very happy with the way things went? Secondly, how much time do you give yourself in terms of measuring how the rebrand has been received? Is it after 6 months that you then say, this worked, we carry on, or this isn't working, we need to scrap that? And number 3, in terms of digital, you've talked about rebranding the channel for TV. Does that also go hand in hand with the rebrand on social media? Do you do it at the same time, or do you first do the TV, then social media comes later?
Yes, thank you for your question.
Okay.
But again, please, you have to remind me about what the first one was. I'll get through the
success. What
measuring the success.
Exactly.
Okay, we have two ways of measuring the success. First, The whole thing, this has to go through approvals first, internal approvals, and we have to test it on screens and make sure it is working. But on the launch level, there's a pre-launch and there's the actual launch. Once we go through on the actual launch, it takes, yes, 6 months until we realize whether or not this is going to work, and we get feedback from people. And there's a whole department, again, by the way, that they actually handle that. And if it's a problem, then it's a problem that we have to deal with afterwards. The second one was with the...
The second one was about the lifespan, in terms of how much time do you need to really gauge whether your rebrand has worked. Is it 6 months, is it a year? Is it ordinarily for TRT?
Well, we're putting, normally when you put something like that, you put it for at least minimum 5 years lifetime. So, but to measure, again, the measure could take, it depends on the feedback, really depends on the feedback. It could take 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. But that's, like, again, this is the planning department who are the ones that can measure the success of your but it takes around 1 year. With regards to the third one, social media, well, yes, it is covered. At the end of all this, the branding company will create something called a guidelines manual. Basically, it covers everything that what I've showed you, and it gets to again, I didn't show it here, but the social media, the digital, your website, your mobile applications, everything has to be within the visual graphics. So, of course, this is covered, but again, I couldn't show everything because things are still in development. We haven't gone to a final. But certainly, yes, it is covered. The production of it, however, is on an independent company. So the digital department will find you another company that will do the implementation of this into your, on your screens or on your applications and whatnot. Any further questions? Go ahead.
NHK Japan, NHK World Japan, it's English 24 hours TV, and it was fascinating to see your work. Thank you. And we were trying to rebrand our channel for the last 2 years, and it ended up in a disaster. And the one reason why is that we have to be authorized by many officials, senior officials, and they are from since we are started from like the end of the World War II and we are old channel, and we try to make it very fresh and very new, but every suggestion was not accepted. And what do you think we should do to really rebrand ourselves again?
Unfortunately, this is how things go. Like I said, you start with a strategy and the brief. The strategy and the brief must be given by the higher-ups. In our case, the general manager of TRT, Mr. Eren, he's the one who sets the strategy. And if he's okay with the change, then everyone is okay with the change. But how you're going to make a change is how you go about it. So, again, we're lucky, and a lot of channels do suffer from that. They want to do something creative, something different, something nice, but then every 2 minutes someone pushes the post button on them. You cannot go further, you cannot do it. We're lucky because our management, TRT's management, higher up management, are ready for the change. So if you're not ready for change, don't bother and do it. You know, go with the classical, or you can fight. You can fight for it, but maybe, is it in a national channel, by the way? It's a national channel. Bureaucracy is there, always. I mean, but then creativity kind of have to go, you have to be creative also, not just visually, creative how to get it through in their heads. But yeah, it's their decision at the end of the day. Next. Can we give the mics?
Здравствуйте, Дмитрий Конов, общественный первый канал Кыргызстан. Нам очень понравилась ваша презентация, и, насколько я понял, когда вы создавали брифинг, скорее всего, вы были под впечатлением вот этой графики «Игры престолов», да, скорее всего? Нет?
Нет.
Потому что
я не знаю.
Все
по-русски. Я не знаю.
И у меня такой вопрос. Как вы думаете, насколько часто нужно проводить ребрендинг? Когда мы должны понять, что нужен ребрендинг для определенного канала и для выбора цвета? Вы выбрали красный цвет, да? Многие считают его очень агрессивным цветом. Но наш канал тоже выбрал красный цвет, потому что мы год назад стали отдельным круглосуточным информационным каналом. Называется «Аlanında». И многие начали говорить, что агрессивный цвет, красный цвет, броский цвет. Но все-таки для новостного канала, как считаете, этот красный цвет, он не несет такой агрессии? Он, конечно, он вызывающий цвет. И насколько выбор вот этого цвета вы считаете оправданным? Потому что вы тоже выбрали тоже красный цвет для новостного формата. Спасибо.
Translation, please. We need translation here. Sorry. Can someone translate?
He is asking something like, if you don't think that the red color is an aggressive color because it's a TV channel, a news channel during the whole day, the people are looking at the red color, do you think it's a little bit aggressive for all the people? I guess that's the question.
Can you? No, okay.
And one sentence more is how often you have to do rebranding?
Okay, can I answer the color and the how often? Can somebody translate for him? Thank you for the question.
It was the translation of the last question.
Oh, okay. Oh, he's getting it. Sorry. Oh, I forgot. Okay, as with regards to the colors, like I showed you, again, the presentation here didn't show much, but we have like 5 different colors. The red is actually not the red that you've seen, but red stands for drama, and both drama and prime time. Yes, it is aggressive because you have to be aggressive in prime time. You have to show that you're up there, you're alert, you're putting forward your best content. And with regards to the blue, again, it's either for like calm news or the normal programming. The other colors are the alternative colors. Again, if we have a religious program, it's different than a political program, different than the current affair programs. So really, like you said, we had like 5 different colors of promo toolkits, they call them. The promo toolkits have 5 different colors, and each color pertains to one side. Of which, yes, aggressiveness, but it comes for prime time, and it's needed. You don't want to be sleeping all day. The second one, how often do you want to do it? I like to say, after like our friend here asked, measuring the success, normally I would go for 5 years. Like, if you can actually put rebranding for a channel for 5 years, you're one of the lucky ones. And it shouldn't take longer than that. But again, why do we say 5 years? Because people are changing. You know, we didn't stop. Like, I see CNN with their visual identity, they look like, with all due respect to their content, and they're very good, but they look like from the 80s. They stopped on the 80s. So really, it's like you have to update yourself. You have to every time update, because your audience by default are updating. 1, 2. In broadcasting, we're talking about present and future. We rarely talk about the past. So the visual identity has to match that as well.
Je disais bonjour encore, je disais qu'on a parlé du branding, du rebranding, de la récréation, du lancement, mais tout tourne autour des spectateurs, des téléspectateurs qui nous suivent. Quelle est ici la principale clé pour toujours retenir l'auditoire ou pour toujours retenir ces téléspectateurs ou ces auditeurs?
Okay, yes, absolutely. And I talked before, when I showed you the brief, if it was well translated, everything is about our audience. Everything is about our demographics. Again, like I said, first we have to understand ourselves first, how we look, but then we want to change. Who are we changing for? For our audience, of course. So, you know, again, we have to define our audience. Like I said, we have from 18 to 60, but where are the majority of our audiences? Who are they? Are they educated? Undereducated? Are they in trouble? Not in trouble? What's happening with the Middle East? What's happening with the society out there? Everything must be studied. So, yes, again, there is the technical part, how we choose the channels and how we rebrand. I talked about that. But I told you the most important, and I cannot stress, is monumentally important to set the brief, the strategy. And the strategy is 100% geared towards your target audience. Because at the end of the day, these are the people who are watching you. So you don't do anything but for them. So, you will just want to clarify this. Please go ahead. English? Okay. Okay, last question. I guess we took too long.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, sir. Good morning. I'm Alan Francisco from Philippines, and I would like to commend you for that awesome presentation. And my questions are: first, how would we know if we have a good branding? Then second, since we have a dynamic society wherein it changes from time to time, how should we adapt our branding, especially for our millennial viewers?
Could you repeat your second question again? Your second question.
Okay. Sir, since we have a dynamic society wherein it changes from time to time, how should we adapt our branding, especially for our millennial viewers?
For?
Millennials.
Wow. Well, like I said, this is a lot of work on your planning, people. The people who put the strategy. I'm answering the second question. So, you have to define your channel first. Are you a news channel? Are you an entertainment channel? Are you doing programming? Which kind of programming? So first, you have to analyze your content. You have to own your content, know exactly who you're talking to. Based on that, you can actually find out what kind of segments are you putting, to which kind of colors, to what kind of graphics, what kind of thing. So you really have to do a large, massive research. And our research took more than a year in planning. Year, imagine. Like everything that you saw here in execution, 4 months maybe. But the planning of doing a channel, understanding our target audience, took nearly a year. So with regards to the first questions, actually, how do you measure success? I answered my friend there. We took a risk, but we know it's going to work because we worked on strategy and brief. But then again, nothing is solid. After 2, 3 months, 6 months, so far we've done a lot of micro kind of testing. So this is important, that when you create something, you don't just feel it's good. You have to bring people from experts from different channels. So we brought people from Zero, from NBC, from a lot of video, from every channel. And we told them, listen guys, this is what we think, and this is what we have. What do you think? You guys are the experts. And you know what? 100%, I don't want to say 90% or 99%, 100% of them said you guys nailed it very nicely. So we do the primary testing again with asking other people from the industry and from different channels, from the channels that they already are broadcasting to the Arab and Middle Eastern world. I guess my time is up. Thank you so much, everyone, and please, I'm available. If you want to have a chat with me, I can stick around for another half hour maybe, or 1 hour. Yes, there's a presentation already. So thank you for your time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.